Hi everyone, my name is Patrick Holden and I am the Multi-Campus Family Ministries Director here at New Point Community Church. Now parents, let me just say thank you so much for coming to the meeting today and welcome. What we're going to do today is we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about some big exciting changes that we're making to our student ministry environments here at all of our campuses across New Point. Now what I want to do today is talk a little bit about where you're at as a parent and talk a little bit about where we are as a ministry and how we find that relationship working together in terms of a partnership. Now, here's what I know about you. Some of you are across a big spectrum when it comes to parenting if you're in this room, right? Some of you, you're a 6th grade parent, and your son or daughter, who is a little 5th grader last year, has just moved up into middle school, and maybe they've just started middle school or will start middle school soon. And what you're going to realize is when they go into middle school, they're going to go in one day and they're going to be a little kid when they start, but by the time they come back out at the end of the day, you're going to realize that your son or daughter is all of a sudden a walking, talking, living, breathing hormone, just like that, right? They go in and they come out completely different from middle school. Some of you, you're a high school parent and you have a senior coming up this year, and all of a sudden you're a husband and you're looking at your wife and you're simply trying to comfort her because all of a sudden she's realizing that her little boy or her little daughter isn't so little anymore. And this new season of life is a big season of life for you and your family. Now, most of you, you're in the middle of those stages at some point, right? Some of you are 7th grade parents or 8th grade parents. Some of you, you have a new high schooler that's going to be a freshman. Some of you are sophomore or even juniors. But what we all realize is that as we start a brand new year, this year is going to be changed, or it's going to be changing for you and your family because you have a son or daughter who's moving into a different season and different stage of life. Now, here's what we're going to talk about a little bit today, and to get the conversation started, I want us to look at this picture right here. Because no matter where you're at, even if you're a 6th grade parent or if you have an upcoming senior, most of us can think about the day that this is coming, right? Most of you, you can look at your son or daughter, and even though it might feel like several years away, you can feel what this is like right now, right? You look at your 6th grader or 7th grader or 8th grader, and you realize that this day is coming quicker than you would like to admit. Some of you are a high school parent, and you just feel the weight of this right now because you know that your high school student is coming to the day where they are going to graduate. Now, as we think about family life here at New Point, and as we think about student ministry here at New Point, this is the day that we're thinking the most about. Because when your son or daughter gets to this day right here, everything that happened in their life and everything that happened in the partnership between the church and you as a parent, all of a sudden it all gets very, very real. Because when your son or daughter gets to this stage, they're moving into a different stage of life where they will probably not be at home for a while. Or maybe they're going to be going into college with a whole different set of experiences and a whole different set of classes and a whole different set of friends. Which means that everything that has happened in the 7 years that lead up to this in student ministry is incredibly important. Because you begin to ask yourself the question, what values did we instill in that son or that daughter? You begin to ask yourself the question, what do they really believe at this stage in their life? When you get to this stage and when you begin to look at this part of your son or daughter's life, you begin to ask yourself the question, was I the kind of parent that made sure that they had a faith that wasn't mine as a parent, but that was the kind of faith that was their own by the time that they graduate high school? Now, what we want to talk about today is we want to talk about how we are going to be involved and how we would like to be partnering with your family to make sure that when your son or daughter gets to this day in their life, that they have a faith that is all their own. That when your son or daughter gets to the place where they are graduating and they are having graduation parties, that they can get to the place where they begin to realize that their faith isn't just their parents, or their faith isn't just a set of things that they've heard at church, but their faith is actually their own. And so when it comes to that, we have a set of sort of core beliefs that we have when it comes to student ministry. And I want to share those with you today. Here's the first one. The first thing is this, that we believe that every single student should have an adult other than a parent that walks them through an entire season of their life. That when it comes to every single student that walks through the doors of our student ministry, that we believe that every single one of them should have an adult other than you as their parent who is walking them through an entire season of their life. Now, the reason that we believe this so much is this, that when it comes to that other adult, you know this and I know this, that when we were in middle school and we were in high school, our relationship with our parents may have been good, but at the end of the day, when we had other mentors or other adults who were speaking into our lives, it became incredibly important for us. In fact, for some of you, you can think back to some of those big conversations that you had with someone who was another adult, and those were some of the most life-shaping conversations that you ever had. And you can remember those things very vividly, because at the end of the day, when it comes to this principle right here, here's what we all know. We know that the relationships with other people that are older than us really matter in our life, which means when it comes to church, we believe this, that if we can get your son or daughter partnered with another adult who is emphasizing the same values that you have as a parent, then all of a sudden we win. We win because we have the parent and another adult speaking into the life and influencing the life of this child, which means for us, as we look at all of our programming and all of the things that we want to do here in student ministry here at New Point, we want to focus on this principle right here. We want to focus on the fact that we want every single student who walks in these doors to have another adult who's able to speak into their life. The next thing we want to say is this, that we would love for you to know about, is that when it comes to the things that we value, New Point Student Ministries will create an irresistible environment for parents that focuses on giving clear communication, helpful resources, and another adult who reinforces the values that you have as a parent at home. When it comes to this, we believe that we should be so good at what we're doing that you as a parent find this environment irresistible. Now, obviously, you're probably not going to come to our services, but at the end of the day, when it comes to the programming that we do and the things that we offer for you as a parent, we believe that it should be irresistible. We believe that we should be very clear in the communication that we have for you, that you as a parent always feel like you know what's going on in our ministry, that we are providing helpful resources specifically for the big conversations that you need to have with your middle schooler or your high schooler. And the other thing is that we believe, again, that we need another adult in the life of your student who is reinforcing the values that you have for your family. Now, the next thing we want to say is this. When it comes to things that we value, New Point Student Ministries will create an irresistible environment for students that leverage an attractive environment, something they want to come to, and a consistent opportunity for community. We believe very much that there's the attractional side of ministry where students really love to be a part of what we're doing, and there's the community side where they are in a small group with another adult and they are able to talk about their life and what's going on in their life and grow as a small group together. So what we're going to do over the next few minutes is we're going to outline exactly what this looks like. And we're going to start off by talking about the environments that we want to offer. Now, when it comes to the environments that we want to offer, we've sort of put 3 buckets into the things that we want to offer when it comes to these environments. And here's what it looks like. For us, that's a Sunday morning environment. It's the events that we're going to offer, and it's the things that we're going to look at specifically for you as a parent. So as we look at the environments, as we talk about the things that we want to talk about in terms of what we're offering to you and your student, we want to talk about it in terms of these 3 separate buckets for your family. Now here, let's talk about the first one. The first environment is this. We want to talk about the Sunday morning environment. Now for us, that's the funnel. So when we talk about Sunday morning, one of the first changes that we're going to be making in terms of student ministry is we're going to be making sure that this funnel happens every single week. Now let me tell you why we talked about it in terms of a funnel. When we think about a funnel, we want people to feel extremely comfortable at the very beginning of this funnel and at the very beginning of all of our services. We want to make sure that we are capturing the heart and the mind of every single person in the room right off the bat. And as we move through this funnel, you can almost think about it like we're going to continue to go deeper and deeper and deeper into the things that we're talking about and experiencing together. So for us, here's what that looks like. There will be an opener that we do in some weeks that's going to be optional, but there will be an opener that we offer for a lot of weeks, which is simply a song that everybody in the room should know. Whether you're a believer or you're not a believer, we want everyone in the room united around the idea that they feel comfortable in the first thing that we're offering. Now, the second thing is this. This is going to be our hosting environment on Sunday mornings. Now, what that looks like for us is that we're going to have someone or a group of people on stage who are simply tasked at making sure that everybody in the room is having a good time. They're going to be playing games together. They're going to be having a lot of fun together, and they're going to get everybody in the room sort of excited about what we're going to be doing that day. So there's the hosting segment right after the opener. The next thing we're going to do is music. Now, as we talk about music in the room, we're going to be having a live band at all of our campuses when it comes to the Sunday morning environment. So we're going to be offering a music piece to all of the things that we do in student ministries, and that's going to be a weekly thing. So we're going to be very intentional about the kind of songs that we pick, very intentional about the feel of the songs that we're doing, so that your students love to sing along and then know some of the truths about God through this music. So we're going to be offering the music. The next thing is a title package, which is ultimately going to lead us to the message. Now, the big change that we're making in terms of our messages on Sunday morning is that we are shortening most of those messages down to 12 to 15 minutes. Now, the way that we're going to approach messages is a little bit different than we've done in the past. What we're saying is when it comes to small groups, we want to leverage our small groups to be able to do the application pieces that we need them to do for students. We believe this, that when it comes to small groups, that's where students are going to grow the most. When it comes to small groups, that's where we're going to be able to get deepest with your students in terms of the things that we can talk about. So we're approaching our messages like this. When it comes to the talk, we are simply leveraging the talk to communicate a big spiritual truth that your students need to know that will ultimately lead them into small group discussion where they can figure out how to apply that truth. Now, here's the big change. Is typically at our campuses, we've done a different thing when it comes to our services, but we're saying this, that we believe so much in this funnel and we believe so much in moving students through this funnel that we're going to offer this environment every single week at our campuses. Now, the next thing that I want to spend a little bit of time talking about are going to be our events. Now, when it comes to the events that we're going to offer, we're going to be changing this up just a little bit so that we can offer some irresistible environments for your students when it comes to the events that we're going to be doing. Now, let me tell you a little bit about our fall events right off the bat. When it comes to the fall events, we're going to be doing separate events for middle school and high school. So when it comes to our middle school events, here's what we'll be offering right off the bat. September 14th, now this is for all of you 6th grade parents, we're going to be doing a 6th grade one-day event on September 14th, and we're going to be calling that Boot Camp. Now let me give you a little bit of insight into what we're going to be doing here. Again, we believe very much in small groups and the small group leader and the relationship between the small group leader and the student. And so for us, we wanted to offer something right off the bat where they can build some relationship together and be able to have a lot of fun together in a fun environment. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a boot camp right off the bat on September 14th. So if you have a 6th grader and you are the parent of one of our 6th graders, I'm going to ask you to please make sure that your 6th grader is at boot camp. Now, to let you know, we're going to be opening registration next week, and you're going to be getting an email from us about how to register and how to sign up. Now, we're making it as cheap as possible for you as a parent so that you can make sure to have your 6th grader at our all middle school camp that's going to be coming up the weekend of October 12th. So this camp coming up the weekend of October 12th is for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students across all of our campuses here at New Point. So when it comes to this camp, what we're going to be doing is going to be a fun camp that starts on Friday night. Friday night we'll have a big session, then all day Saturday afternoon they're going to be having a lot of fun with their small groups and the other small groups around their campus here in the New Point community. And then what we're going to be doing is Saturday night having another big session that they're absolutely going to love with a lot of surprises along the way. So that'll be our middle school fall camp the weekend of October 12th. Now registrations will be opening up for this camp 6 weeks before the camp actually starts. So you can go ahead and put these dates on your calendar. Now if you have a high school student, let's spend a little bit of time talking about our high school camps. High school camps right now are brand new to our ministry. In fact, we weren't doing any camps for high schoolers until this year. And so what we're doing this year is we're going to be doing a high school camp beginning October 19th, right? So the weekend of October 19th, we're going to have an all high school camp that again will be very similar to the style and structure of our middle school camp. So your high schooler will come on a Friday night and have a service that's geared just towards them. And on that Friday night, what they'll do is they'll go and have a blast at that, and on Saturday spend time with their small group, spend time with other small groups here in the New Point community, and then have a blast on Saturday night having another service. So they'll spend Friday night and Saturday night away with their small group leader at a host home for this camp. So that'll be our high school camp coming up the weekend of October 19th. Now, September of this year, we're going to be doing an Invest and Invite event for your high school students. What we believe is this, that if we can get your student investing in their friends that don't come to church currently, if we can get them investing in them relationally, then all of a sudden we can get to the place where they can invite them to one of our events here at church. And so what we're doing is we're going to be having a high school Invest and Invite event coming up September of this year, and it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to ask you to make sure that your high schooler is there with one of their friends. So let's spend a little bit of time talking about our spring camps. Now, when it comes to our spring camps, we're going to be doing an all-student ministries camp coming up the weekend of March 1st. So that means this: if you have a middle school student or if you have a high school student, we're going to ask them to be involved in this big camp. In fact, the biggest camp that we're going to do all year, the weekend of March 1st. Now again, this is going to be a fun camp, and we'll be giving you a lot more details as we get closer to this camp. So we're going to be doing that for middle school. When it comes to middle school, we're also going to be doing an Invest and Invite Again event on April 2015. So when it comes to April 2015, we're going to be doing a middle school Invest and Invite event during that month. So we're going to ask you to have your student at that Invest and Invite event as well. Now here's the big piece of the puzzle that we are very, very, very excited about. Since we have sort of your attention for this camp, we want to make sure that we can do something right after that where we can partner together in having a big conversation with your student. So every year right after this camp, we're going to be doing a sex series right after that camp. And the sex series is going to be for both middle school and for high school students. Now obviously we're going to separate middle school and high school for this big series, but at the end of the day, what we want to do is we want to resource you as a parent to be ready to have some of those conversations with your son and your daughter. So after this all-student ministries camp, we're going to give you all of the message videos at the camp so that you can watch them prior to the series that'll be coming up. So we're going to make sure that you have access to all of the material and all of the things that we're going to be talking about in regards to this sex series before we actually do it on a Sunday morning. Now when it comes to this, we also want to resource you to have conversations with your son or daughter, and we realize that the conversation about sex is very different for a 6th grader than it is for a 12th grader, and so we're going to be resourcing you as a parent to have these conversations no matter where you are at in terms of parenting one of these students. So we're going to be doing an all-student ministries camps, and we're going to be doing the sex series. That'll be March and April of 2015, and resourcing you on the front end with all of that. Now, in terms of middle school, we're also going to be putting an Invest and Invite event at the end of April as well, where we're going to ask your students to invest in someone and then invite them to one of the events that we're having at church. And then for high school students, we're going to be doing service projects in April of 2015 as well. Now let's spend a little bit of time talking about the summer, and I'm excited to tell you about the summer, especially if you're a high school parent. Now when it comes to summer, right? When it comes to summer, if you have a high school student, we're going to be doing a summer beach camp coming up in June 2015, which means if you have a high school student sitting next to you, they probably just screamed a little bit because they're excited about that, right? So when it comes to the summer beach camp, we're going to take all of our high school students and we're going to go have a fun time at the beach and do a camp sort of scenario there. Now this will be a weekend camp, Friday through Sunday, and we'll be offering a lot of fun experiences for them at this beach camp. Now, when it comes to high school as well, we're also going to be doing mission trip sort of things coming up in July 2015. So the whole month of July will be focused on letting your high school student experience service projects and missions trips when it comes to July. So when it comes to summer for middle school, we're going to be offering service projects for middle school students that are in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in June 2015. And then we're going to do an 8th grade missions trip July 2015, which means this: if you're the parent of a 8th grade student, what we're going to be doing for this camp or for this event is we're going to allow you as a parent to go with your son or daughter to a missions trip overseas. And so what we're going to be doing in middle school is we're going to sort of reserve that overseas middle school missions trip for you as a parent and your 8th grader until they get to 8th grade. And so when it comes to this, we just believe wholeheartedly that this could be a great experience for you as a parent and your son or daughter when it comes to an overseas mission trip. And we think that 8th grade is a great time to do that. Now, here's what I want to do. From here on, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about you as a parent and how we can work together to make sure that all of this happens. When it comes to you as a parent, we're going to be doing specific things just for you as a parent of a student. So when it comes to this, we're sort of putting this in 3 different buckets that we want to talk about. So if we'll look at the next one, here's what we're going to be doing when it comes to you as a parent. We're going to be offering seminars every year that are geared specifically for you as a parent when it comes to your high school student or your middle school student. So we want to be able to offer things that are helpful for you at the stage of life that you're in, at the stage of parenting that you're in. So we're going to be offering seminars specifically on how to parent a middle school student and specifically on how to parent and communicate with high school students as well. The next thing that we're working on, which I'm extremely excited about, is something that we're calling experience guides. Over the next year, we're going to be working very hard to create an experience guide that allows you and your son or daughter to go off and have a great conversation in a fun environment that you get to plan on your own. So when it comes to this experience guide, we're going to give you a lot of the details, we're going to give you a lot of questions to get the conversation going, and we're going to give you a lot of the pieces of the puzzle that you need to have a great experience with your son and daughter at specific times in their life, which means this for us. If you have a 6th grade student, we're going to give you an experience guide that's focused just on your time as a 6th grade parent. Same thing for 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So we're going to spend the next several months developing this, and as soon as we roll this out, we're going to let you know so that you can grab your experience guides as parents. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to focus a lot on our events and our series. So as I've already told you, when it comes to the events, we want to make sure that we're partnering with you when it comes to the events that we're doing and giving you the information that you need and communicating with you specifically as a parent when it comes to these events. And we want to make sure that you're privy to everything that we're doing in terms of our series on Sunday morning. So we're going to make sure that we get all of this information up and online so that you can know that it's there and you can know where to find what we're talking about here in student ministry. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is the way that we can partner together and the way that you specifically can partner together with us. Now, the first thing that we're going to ask you in terms of this partnership right off the bat is this. And we're going to ask you to partner with your son or daughter's small group leader. So here's what we're saying. We're putting a lot of emphasis on the relationship between your son or daughter and you as a parent with their small group leader. And so here's what we're going to ask you to do. We're going to ask you specifically as a parent to get to know the small group leader of your son or daughter. We believe this, that if you can get to the place where you can partner with your son or daughter's small group leader, then all of a sudden those two influences that are coming together in the life of your student will just grow exponentially. And the influence that you have together will grow exponentially, and so will the spiritual growth of your son or daughter. So we're going to ask you right off the bat to partner with your son or daughter's small group leader. The second thing we're going to ask you is this, is that when it comes to the way that you can partner with us, we're going to ask you to ensure that your son or daughter is present consistently. So here's a big thing that we're going to ask you to do, right? When it comes to us doing the things that we're doing here, it really works best if your son or daughter is present consistently. So if they are here half the time, that's probably not consistent enough for them to really internalize the principles that we're talking about. So if at all possible, and I know that you're busy and you have a lot going on and your family has a lot going on, but to the best of your ability, we're going to ask you to ensure that your son or daughter is present at these environments consistently, which means this for a middle school family. If you're a middle school family, I know that can be very difficult, but we're going to ask you to make sure that your son or daughter is here, and we're going to do our absolute best to make sure this is an irresistible environment. If you're a high school family, it becomes a little bit more difficult, but we're going to ask you to encourage and influence your son or daughter to be at these environments very consistently, and we are going to do our absolute best to make sure it's an irresistible environment for them. Now, the third thing is this that we're going to ask you to do as a parent, and that's this. We're going to ask you to sign up for our parent resourcing updates. When it comes to the things that we're doing, we want to make sure that we're able to communicate with you clearly and give you all of the information that you need as a parent to know what's going on here in our Student Ministries environment. So when it comes to this, we're going to ask you to sign up for parent resourcing updates. Now, if you haven't signed up yet today, there's going to be a sheet at the back of the room that you can sign up with, and we're going to ask you just to give us your name and your email information. Now, I promise we're not going to spam you and we're not going to bombard you with emails. We're going to make sure that we're giving you the essential information that you need as a parent. Now, what I want to do to wrap things up today is I just want to spend a little bit of time talking about the picture that we looked at right off the bat today. Now, let's throw this up here. The picture that we looked at was this picture of graduation day. Now, I know that you as a parent, even if you have a 6th or 7th or 8th grade student, even if you have a freshman in high school, this day may feel like it's a little bit far away. But for all of you as parents and for us as a ministry, this day isn't as far as we think. And the way that I think about this day isn't so much about the day that they graduate in terms of what they're doing at school and the cap and gown and the throwing the hats and all of that. When I think about this day right here, I think about the graduation parties that you're going to have with your family. And I think about the graduation parties that you're going to have with your son or daughter. And for me, as I think about this, I think the win for us, and the win for us is New Point, and the win for us as a ministry, is if at that graduation party one day when your senior in high school is getting ready for that next step in their life, what I think about is the line of small group leaders that could be lined up on the wall at your house. That I think about the small group leaders who are going to be there from their elementary school days and from middle school and from high school, and I think about the small group leaders that are going to be there, and I think about the moment when you as a parent have the opportunity to look at your son or daughter and then look over to that wall of adults who were standing there and said that we partnered with you as a parent and that we were there alongside of you as you made big decisions about your son or daughter. And we were there alongside of your son or daughter when they were making big decisions about their life. When we think about graduation day, it's not just about throwing caps in the air. It's about the fact that the day that you have that graduation party, that we can look back and say together as a church and a family, that we partner together in such a way that as your son or daughter enters that next step of their life, that they can move into that next step confident in their own faith. And they can look to the side and see the small group leaders that were part of their life, and you can see those small group leaders, and we can all breathe a big sigh of relief because we know that we partnered together as a church and as a family to make sure that your son or daughter, the day that they graduate, is able to have a faith of their own. So here's what we're going to ask you to do. We're going to ask you to partner with us in this new strategy. And I know there's a lot of changes and I know there's a lot of things going on, but we're going to ask you and we're going to beg you to be a part of what we're doing here in Student Ministries so that we have the opportunity to partner with you as a family, and that the day that your son or daughter graduates, that we can look together and say that we partnered together to do something amazing, to make sure that your son or daughter can take that next step in their journey of faith, confidently and owning their faith. So what we're going to do today is we're going to bring back up your student director at your campus, and they're going to give you a little bit more details, and they're going to give you the opportunity to ask some very specific questions that you might want to have. And so we're going to make sure that we're around to answer all of the questions that you have following this today. And so your student director is going to come up here in just a second. Before they do, here's what I want to do. Is I want to pray for us as we move into this, and I want to pray specifically for you as a parent as you move forward into this next year. Let's pray together. Father, thank you so much for this opportunity for all of us to come together and talk about what you're doing here at New Point, but more importantly, what you're doing in the lives of our families. And so, Father, I ask that as we move into a new year and we move into a new season of student ministry here at New Point, that you would be with us through these next steps. That you would continue just to help our small group leaders to be more and more equipped so that they can partner with the family even more than we currently are. And that, Father, that you would help our families here at New Point to feel communicated with and know what's going on and feel more and more equipped to parent the way that you're calling them to parent. Father, thank you so much for all that you're doing, and we want to go ahead and thank you in advance for all of the students that are going to come through student ministry here at New Point and graduate and be able to look at their small group leaders one day and realize that they helped them in terms of their faith and own their faith. We love you so much, and we thank you for what you're going to do. In Jesus' name, amen.